we have, and the problem is going to be, what we know is over the answers, this will give me answers. So that's why yesterday we were talking about patterns, and pattern Lelo Pasakama is our motto, right? So first we need to know how to get one pattern, to write a claim, which is your invention. We started with that. There was a good summary that was given for yesterday from yesterday's presentation. Thank you for that.
अब आप एक्सेल का काम आसानी से
first order of business, cell phone multiply for me too. That was what cell phone. Okay, so that is taken care of. Now we are in business. Two pieces of homework. Let's go straight to that. I don't want to waste time, not waste time, but I don't want to spend time on reviewing what we did in course one and then take day one of course two. We are very familiar with it, so I'm going to skip that. We'll go straight to the, because we have a lot of items to cover. Today is the action day. Yesterday we set up all the background for how to get to know whether we have an invention with us, and then translating that invention into one sentence is going to give us our claim, and that will be evaluated against 7 criteria by an examiner, and the examination ultimately needs to satisfy the examiner that on every single count, the single sentence or claim that they have written passes, whatever is essential. Those 7 items we are going to take one by one, which you know. We will spend not more than 1 minute on the slide in defining that item. So criteria, because we have already covered that last as well as a little bit yesterday. And then what we will do is for every single one of them, we will take a granted pattern and check the claim how that eligibility criteria can be explained. Right? One more time. When we look at novelty, let's say, the first one, we will look at a granted pattern, we look at the claim, and then we will see where the novelty is. Right? So that way then you will get a first-hand experience as to, well, this is how it came about, because now we know the process how it comes about. So that's the plan. There are 7 items of which non-obviousness we are going to take first, right after a couple of input questions that we were assigned, and we will go straight to non-obviousness as the first item, because that's the toughest one. And I know it is Saturday, you are looking forward to Sunday weekend, so if I take it in the afternoon, I know half of us will use it. So that's the reason why I'm going to take non-obviousness as the first one. All right. Yesterday we said, should the claim reflect the invention? Right? That was the first homework question. Today? And now our understanding is, now we are not going to talk science. After all science, we have got the invention with us, and we have translated it into one single sentence. So my question is, that single sentence which you are looking for, getting that claim granted, should it reflect the intention? Yes, no, maybe no. It's almost like saying that, well, the child is born and then everybody says, oh, कितना cute है, माँ के ऊपर गया है, बाप के ऊपर गया है. So there's a reflection of the parents in the child. So I'm asking exactly the same question. You have the invention with you, which you have put it into a single sentence. I'm asking you whether that single sentence that you have created, should it reflect the invention?
Claim should be broad. It should be the invention should be reflected in the claims.
Okay, we got one part. Is it correct? How many of you agree with it? One thing is certain. That, well, we talked yesterday a little bit about the product ultimately should be covered by the patent. Right? Patent 405, that the one that you're going to look at, the formulation for citric acid, calcium supplement, which is on the market. We say that it is patent protected. So if you look at the properties of that, we should see the claim in that. And let's say one of the items is 5 to 10% surfactant. It is not in that patent. Remember, that's the element we are working with. So if I look at the product and if I look at any item, any component which qualifies as a surfactant, whichever way the surfactant is defined in the specification, that is number one. And number two, that component is whether it is present between 5 to 10% in that composition. If it is, then yes, the patent, the product is covered by the patent. Same thing as saying that, well, the patent's reflection is in the product. But I'm going one step back. I'm asking you whether the invention should be reflected in that claim.
Yes.
Okay? Let's look at it. What is this loaded question? Tomorrow, the second question, we'll come to that. We will not lose that. What was the second question? Obviousness. Okay. All right. Let's look at, for example, we know ADD syndrome, attention deficit disorder in kids, and that is many times accompanied with hyperactivity. ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That is the indication. Now, the background is essential because we want to make a point whether the intention should be reflected in the claim. Ideally, the answer is yes, by the way, but now we'll take a look at the scenario. Alright, so now certain kids have ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and this COVID has increased that syndrome. Because as it is, kids have less attention span. And in that, there was basically no restriction or no requirement that the kids should sit straight, sit in a table and chair or some kind of a desk and see online courses. Remember the WhatsApp that was circulated last year where the Google school, elementary school teacher came on and she said, this online classes are क्या बताऊं, आधे घंटे का क्लास उसमें 25 मिनट चिल्ला रहे हो, कैमरा बंद को, and then during that time the grandmother is coming and feeding the child, and then the child screams, oh, I need to do the potty and all that stuff. So that's hyperactivity. And ध्यान रखो, क्या चल रहा है, that is attention deficit. Very simple. Alright, now kids have that. So the first line of treatment is methylphenidate. Methylphenidate is seen as depressive, so the activity goes down, and then it calms the child. So hoping that the attention span is better. Okay. Alright, now what happens is the child has to go to school. Methylphenidate has a short half-life. So the first line of treatment that became blockbuster was Ritalin. Ritalin was immediate release methylphenidate tablet. So the child takes the tablet, goes to school, 8-hour school day. Half-life of the drug is short. The blood levels fall out of the therapeutic range in 4 hours. So during lunchtime, the child has to go to the nurse and then get the second dose and come back and have a label saying that I am vaccinated. So I took my medicine. Or something like that. It is embarrassing for the child. At that age, so our pharmaceutics people were very quick about it. Formulation people said short half-life, highly soluble drug, sustainability. We want to take care of the patient for 8-hour school day, so we need a twice a day formulation will be good. The ID curve. So Ritalin SR came on board. Ritalin SR was essentially 2 IR doses combined, and then the first dose comes in pretty quick, actually right away, and then that takes care of the 4 hours, and in the 4 hours, the second dose starts to come in, and it takes care of the next 4 hours. School day is over. You don't have to go for lunch dose. Kid goes back home, takes the goes back, works on the homework, and then after dinner takes the second dose. Morning ready for the next day. So converted to BID. Perfect. Came on the market, all fanfare. 6 months it failed. Why? Because the blood levels were there, but the effect started to go down because of tolerance. CNS drugs, you will have that. All pain relief medications also have tolerance. So now the problem was, I have a sustained release formulation with an immediate release component, which is nothing new. Ritalin SR was nothing but 2 beads, IRV and SR we put together in a capsule, finished, you lab the product, blood levels were great. Effect was maybe not. The child was getting hyperactive in spite of the drug in blood. So now the question was, how do I address that? So there was a pediatric neurologist who looked at the whole thing and he said, well, we have to now receive the body. The body should not know when the next dose is coming in, so that the tolerance will not start to or appear. So what he did was, Dennis Johnson, what he did was, he said, give me 6 kids. 6 kids, and what he had a new protocol. So let them come in with their first immediate release single dose IR tablet, Ritalin. And in every 2 hours, I am going to give them 10 ml of cherry syrup. 10 ml of cherry syrup. Cherry syrup, kids love to death. Literally, if you give them sugar, or if you give them a bitter tasting medicine and say, oh, this cherry syrup, they will say it's so powerful. So what he said is, give me 6 kids, every 2 hours, 10 ml cherry syrup. In that, he gave 1/4 of it dose 2, 25% of dose 2. Next 2 hours, under 25%. Next 2 hours, under 25%. And the last 2 hours, under 25%. 8-hour day is over. Blood levels are there. Child is pretty quiet. Let's look at it kinetically. IR dose before coming into school, blood levels are high, start to come down in 2 hours. The first 20%, 25% of the second dose kicks in because of the cherry syrup. Then that starts to wane in the next 2 hours. second 1/4 dose, second 10 ml of cherry syrup comes back in. So now there is a profile that goes up, comes down, picks up again for 2 hours, again for 2 hours, again for 2 hours, again for 2 hours. And then goes down, goes back home. So now this is known as a sipping steady. So if you only take a look at the peak values from the first dose and it's 2 hours later, every 2 hours till the 8th hour, you have the Cmaxes for every sip, it goes up. It goes up. And 8 hours, if you combine the whole thing, you get a nice profile where the drug comes in and then it increases in its rate and then comes down. Okay. Problem solved. Never done before. Sipping study was never done before. Okay. Novelty is there. Pharmacokinetics is known. So you based on PK and absorption rates are better with solution. Use that information to get the rates going up over the tolerance. So that was the invention. So never known before from prior art. Now what happens is he sat on the advisory board of ALSA. And he said, yes, I have solved this problem. Now we have to convert it into a product. We're following the sequence and the point here. Overcoming tolerance was accomplished by a sipping study. And a sipping study is the invention. Because the release rate which increases over time for an extended period of time. An ascending release rate, that was the sipping study result, and that was the invention. So now that was to be converted into a product. So you cannot keep on giving for millions of kids the sipping study. Invention was there. So ALSA said, well, ALSA was at that time running very high on success of osmotic systems. So they built an osmotic pump. So they well, we will have the drug dose along with the solubilizer with salt, and then we will have the other excipients there, put it into a formulation, make a tablet out of it, coat it with a microbial membrane, drill a hole on the top, and I have an osmotic pump. That was dose 2. In the osmotic pump was dose 2. Then they overcoated it with active drug layer, which comes out pretty rapidly, that is dose 1. So the child now, when the child is given this formulation, which is overcoated with active drug and osmotic pump, push-pull pump. So the child takes that, the outer overcoated drug comes out pretty quick, the child is ready to come to school. By the time the first 2 hours is front, where the fluid which has the solution of the drug starts to get pushed out from the orifice. Yeah. So over next 8 hours, we start to see the drug levels going up. So first dose looking at maximum release rate, first dose, Cmax on 2 hours, yeah. When the osmotic pump starts to work from 2 hours to almost 8 hours, there is a release rate which is increasing over a period of time. See that? And for an extended period of time from 2 to 8 hours, 6 hours. Right? Blood levels, yes. Overcoat release, blood level is up. Then for the next 8 hours, if you look at these levels with increasing release. Went to US Patent Office. मिल गया जी claim. What is the claim? Claim says a method for treating ADD or ADHD comprising administering the dosage form, which is also the word quoted as form, comprising methylphenidate that provides the release of the drug at an ascending release rate over an extended period of time. Correct? ये claim है. Invention is this. You follow this? So invention is the shipping study, but the claim is a product. So when I need to look at the QC or so to speak, the properties of this product, osmotic system, I'm only going to look at whether there is an ascending release rate, which it may or may not be because of the shipping study. And we are using a higher shipping study, that is fine. That is a rationale which is provided in the specifications. All this information that I explained is provided in specifications. So the shipping study is disclosed in specifications. But the claim is for a technology product. Are you getting the difference? Yes, no, maybe. Yeah.
So, the question, so I'm a little bit confused. So, here we are just, they actually just increase the release rate.
Correct.
The molecule is already in the public domain.
Correct.
So, if we are having a molecule which is in the public domain, and if we just increase the bioavailability or any other activity, we can put that for patent.
You can put that.
We can put that technology for patent.
Yeah, but then it has to go through the prior art search and analysis, which they did. And we are, right now we are not talking about how to determine that. Okay.
But there should be already prior art for methyl
For the molecule, yes, not for the ascending release rate. Not for the shipping study either.
Okay, so if we take an example where people are synthesizing molecules and they are publishing their articles. So the molecules is already there in the public domain, but no activity has been done for that.
Correct.
If I am doing in silico study, if I am doing animal study, I am showing the activity for that molecule. Can I patent that?
Can we leave that question for a later time? Because here we are making a point, which is whether the invention should be reflected in the claim. I have a response to that, but if I forget it, remind me of that. So let's do that. So the shipping study is the invention, has been converted into a product, and the product properties, which is the ascending release rate, is being assessed for all 7 aspects, criteria, whether that was known before, whether it was obvious or not, whether it was inherent or not, whether it was anticipated or not, whether it was whatever, novel or not, innovative or not, whether it was edible or not, right? So if I give you this as a single sheet, like I gave you yesterday for 405, what would be your thought as to what is the invention? Right? How would you recognize? From the claim, we should be able to recognize all 7 features that are evaluated by the examiner. All 7 features. That's our job today. So here, if it comes to me for evaluation for whether this particular granted claim is normal, I can show you it is normal. Have you ever worked with designing a sustained release formulation where the release rate goes up? Target every time for a sustained release formulation is either the release rate has to come down slowly, thereby we get sustained release, or ultimately it has to have a constant release. That is our zero order is our ideal target. Right? This is the first time where over 8 hours the release rate is going up. That's the normal thing. Osmotic system or whichever way the product was put together to get to this ascending release rate is the innovation. Because what is known, you are improving upon it or working on it to get to know. There you go. That is the innovation part. And we can go with the other 5 also. But right now I'm not going to do that because we are to go to all these things right away. But all of that has been done in order to get this table up. It does not reflect CP strength. 373 patent, if you look at all the claims, they could have gotten an independent claim on the sipping study itself. They did not do that. Now keep this in mind. At the end of the day, I'm going to tell you the amusing story with this. But that is for the end of the day. That goes into protection as well as commercialization and whatnot. There is prelude to course 3, 4, 5 and 6. Alright. So ideally, yes, the invention should be reflected in the claim, but it need not be. Need not. So be prepared that well, sometimes it may happen that you are seeing an invention from the data, but you don't have a technology that can be put together to see the same thing in the product. What is happening in nanotechnology? Exactly that. Exactly that. There are thousands and thousands of papers that are coming out, and inventions are coming out in the hundreds, where they talk about silver nanoparticles and gold nanoparticles. Why not that many patents? And even worse is, why not that many products? Or at least a sizable number of products. In the last 10 years, there have been over 2,000 conferences on nanotechnology. Over 1,100 patents granted. Only last 10 years. Only 17 products. ट्रांसलेशन में प्रॉब्लम है क्या, डेवलपमेंट में प्रॉब्लम है, स्केलिंग अप में प्रॉब्लम है, टेक ट्रांसफर में प्रॉब्लम है, फिजिकल में प्रॉब्लम है, किसमें प्रॉब्लम है? हम निकाले जा रहे हैं टेक्नोलॉजी कॉन्फ्रेंस पे पोस्टर्स एंड प्रेजेंटेशन. I have edited a 6-volume series on nanobiomedicine with 91 chapters. 91 chapters. One chapter people don't want to read is where I have said that, well, why is this happening? And nobody is addressing that question. Anyway, what's what? The moral of the story is, ideally yes, but it need not be, because we are not looking at science. So, one thing to learn is here, when you do your research projects and you find an invention, and if you do not have a measure to convert it into a product, still it is advisable to find a product. Number 2, if ideally it is easy to, not easy, but it can be converted into a product and go for it. Third, which is most important, is once you have an invention and you know what the product's features should be. So you can take that as your target, make a product and see whether it meets the criteria for whatever you are looking for, and then we go for its evaluation for all 7 items.